Fire and rescue arrived first, rushed 2 people to the trauma center, and found a 3rd person in the bathroom expired. When detectives arrived to the scene, they learned that he was face down in the bathroom. He's identified as Brandon Brown. He was 22 years old, the father of a 1-year-old daughter, and graduated high school with honors. All 3 were hit with a burner. They found duct tape, casings, and red all over. Detectives also learned the first survivor was identified as Chris Dickerson. He was hit in the upper back. He's in surgery now. The second survivor was identified as Vincent Corley. He was grazed. So the detectives called the hospital, and Corley was able to talk. He says about 3 to 4 a.m., an older and younger guy with a burner took them into the bathroom and took everything. He said one of them was called Black. He threw a blanket over them and let the burner loose. Now Detective Thomas speaks with Brandon's sister. She agrees to come to the station. She arrives with her brother. So Thompson talked to Brandon's brother first, asked him what did Brandon do for a living. He said cut hair. Then Thompson said they used the nickname Black. He said he knows a Black, but if you was to mention that name to my sister, she knows his real name. They headed her to speak with his sister.
From one of the guys at the hospital that survived, he's saying that some guy called Black.
Yeah, I know.
What do you say his first name is?
Eric.
Eric.
He's tall, he's skinny.
She dated him back in the day. So they get a picture of Eric Harris and take it to the hospital and show Vincent. He's about to be released. He pick out Black with authority. So they head back to the station, look up Eric Harris. He has a long criminal history. So they set out to get Black. The gang unit runs his name to see what they get. They come up with several addresses, but he wasn't at any of them. So the next morning, someone calls the detectives and said they saw Black burning clothes in the backyard. And the house he's in is by the crime scene. And he also has a white Oldsmobile. So they head over there, spot the white Oldsmobile in front of the home. They hit the house. A woman opens the door and says Black isn't there, but they do find the burn pit. So Thompson let the homeowner know what's going on.
And the tampering of evidence has occurred in this backyard. Do you understand that?
Very clearly.
You got a vehicle parked in front of your house, and you don't know nothing?
I don't.
And she says that her daughter, Black girlfriend, was talking about going to New Orleans and gave them the address. So they contact the New Orleans PD, give them the address, and they go by there and didn't find Black. Now Thompson get a call. No one says anything, so he calls back, and it's a message from Black saying,
Everybody's looking for me. You're not gonna find me. Bye-bye.
Then all of a sudden, Black girlfriend Erica calls from New Orleans. She states Black didn't come with her, so Erica come back and speak with detectives. She says she haven't spoke to Black. They ask her why did she leave. She states that she always go to New Orleans. Then the U.S. Marshals contact one of the detectives and said Erica received a money transfer from Black's mom while in New Orleans. So the detective take over the interview, present her with that evidence. Then she says Black did come to New Orleans, stayed 2 days and left. The detective asks where is he now. She says that he wouldn't tell her, but she says the guy he was with is named Zoe. So they wrap that up, punch Zoe in the database, come up with a name Lorenzo Johnson, lives in the same area where the incident took place, and he has priors. So they put a lineup together, show Vincent a photo of Zoe. He picks him out as the second suspect. Now they take it to Chris. Chris started talking about that night. He said everything was normal, they was chilling, then Black pulled out the burner. He said Brandon had just got finished cutting their hair and only had about $10 on them when the robbery happened. Then they covered them up and let the burner loose. Before leaving, they hit Brandon again. So then he picked Zoe out of the lineup. So they end that. The U.S. Marshals catch Black in Dallas, bring him back for interrogation. Black refuses to talk, so they arrest Eric Harris on Capital M and start the search for Zoe. The U.S. Marshals find Zoe in Minneapolis in custody. The detectives fly there to interview Zoe. He starts by saying everything was good.
So it was 4 or 5 in the morning. It was time for me to go. The guy I was with, I called him. He came out with him, and he said, "Y'all know what this is."
But he left before Black let the burner loose. The detective tells Zoe 2 surviving witnesses told us what happened. Said you were there. So Zoe admits Black let the burner loose, and he only helped because he was scared. Lorenzo Johnson was charged with capital M. So now they turn the case over to prosecuting attorney Mark Moffitt. He has an airtight case against Eric Harris. He had 2 eyewitnesses who both knew Eric and had survived the incident. So the trial of Eric Harris begins.
This man's dead because of these 2 guys. In that wheelchair for the rest of his life. This man tried.
Then he lined them up and let the burner loose. So the defense takes over. He says that Brandon, Chris, and Vincent used a lot that night, hoping the jury would feel that maybe Chris and Vincent didn't see everything or know who really fired the burner. So they wrap that up. The jury deliberates for an hour and find Eric Harris guilty of capital M and sentenced to life without parole. Now they get ready for Lorenzo Johnson trial. His trial would be a little more difficult. They had 2 witnesses that said Black had the burner, but no one really said Lorenzo did. So that was Moffitt's plan to prove that he was a willing participant. So Moffitt plans on using Johnson's statement to show that he was in the apartment, and then plan on calling a witness whom Johnson talked to. The defense, Edwin King, plans on pushing the point that Lorenzo did everything out of fear. So the trial of Lorenzo Johnson begins. Prosecution calls Chris first.
During this whole deal, did Black ever threaten this defendant? Like, you better do what I say? Or
No, sir.
Like
No, sir.
Next, Moffitt asks, did Lorenzo look comfortable or uncomfortable during that situation? Chris said it looked as if they both came to handle business. Now the defense questions Chris. He says Chris told the detectives Black put the blanket on us. Also, you never mentioned seeing Zoe with a burner, did you? Chris said he had one though. You never told the detectives that. He said that may be. So King ends his questioning. Moffitt calls a firearm expert. He says there were 3 burners involved, a 22, 25, and 9. So that testimony there helps Moffitt prove that Zoe was involved in hitting him with the burner. Now Moffitt calls the detective to the stand. He states he flew to Minneapolis to meet with Zoe. Moffitt then asked him, did anyone threaten or promise Zoe anything? He says no, they didn't. Then King, the defense attorney, go at the detective.
Black told him to do something. He did.
Yes, sir.
Then Moffitt and King get into an altercation over a statement Moffitt made.
Accusation in my face. You turned towards me and made an insinuation. The judge thought you did. Everybody else in the jury out in the gallery thought you did.
Well, after that, Lorenzo takes the stand. King asks him, when you were outside, you had a chance to leave. Why didn't you? Lorenzo said he had nowhere to go. If he had did that and they didn't catch Black before Black called him, it's a problem. Now Moffitt questions Zoe. Moffitt tells Zoe taping people up is the same as helping. Zoe said he was doing what he was told to do. Now under the Texas law, Lorenzo Johnson could be found guilty just by assisting Black or by not trying to prevent it. So Moffitt now asks, you were scared that he was going to hit you with a burner, correct? He said yes. Moffitt then says, so you were so scared that you go back inside with the guy that's going to hit you with the burner. Zoe said that he wanted to do something, but he was too scared. So Moffitt has no more questions for Zoe. The prosecution and defense rest. The jury deliberates and finds Lorenzo Johnson guilty of capital M. He was sentenced to life without parole. Thank you for watching. Hit that thanks button, hit that like button. Stay safe out there. Leave me some comments. I'm done talking.